As a channel that frequently features firearms that are chambered in 380 ACP, one of the questions or comments that frequently comes up is the idea that 380 ACP is insufficient for self-defense purposes and 9mm or better is where it's at. Let's put that idea to the test today. We're going to look at the Hornady Critical Defense 380 ACP. This is a 90 grain FTX projectile, and we're going to compare that against the Hornady Critical Defense 9mm. This is a 115 grain FTX projectile, kind of like a ballistics tip. Now let's find out, using 10% FBI grade ballistic gel from Clear Ballistics, their friend of the channel sent us, how the 9mm versus the 380 ammo stacks up. Now, for a comparison against the Hornady Critical Defense, we are going to use an ammo that I've always been very curious of, and some of the videos we've done critical of the marketing material on the box. The Norma MHP, or monolithic hollow point. Now, we have it in both 380 ACP and 9mm. Let's test that ammo as well today, again using the 10% FBI grade ballistics gel. And now, let's hit the range. Okay, we're going to do 3 shots, 9mm, into our 10% FBI ballistic gel. It's at 5 yards approximately. I'm going to try to do them left to right in the gel. Here we go. Oh, wow! That is awesome! So here you can see our test of our 9mm Hornady Critical Defense ammunition, our 3 shots. Now I flipped the block over, so our first shot is actually this one, our second shot is in the middle, our third shot is the one closest to you. Now if you look at the hollow point ammunition, in my opinion this shows very good expansion, and we also see very consistent penetration. First shot was at about 11 inches, second shot 10 3/4 inches, the third shot was 10 1/4 inch with the, we'll call it the ballistic tip, another 1.5 inches, a full foot into our ballistics gel. Now it looks like here, towards the beginning, the first 3 to 4 inches of the gel, more, we'll say, damage in the wound channel, though not much. So that's probably where the hollow point expansion happened, in my not an expert opinion. It's sort of in this portion of the block. Okay, this is Norma MHP monolithic hollow point. We're going to try to reuse the same block and put 3 shots in the top third of the block. We're going to hope for good accuracy today. I always wondered how this ammo does. Today we're going to find out. Okay, I think that was higher. Okay, top right corner now. Okay. This is eye-opening. Okay, let's look at our Norma MHP penetration performance here. And as you can see, which we'll get some still images with better quality to make this more clear, but you can see we have almost identical penetration to our Hornady Critical Defense, maybe a ½ inch less penetration, but look at the wound channel here. It is just devastating. We see a massive wound channel for all 3 rounds. It's clear these rounds not only have had amazing hollow point expansion, but they have also tumbled and done extreme damage to what I'm going to call the vital areas. Here, our first 6 inches going on down, that is a devastating wound channel for all 3 rounds with 10.5 to 11 inches of penetration on our 10-inch FBI gel. Okay, we are going to repeat our previous test using this time we're going to use the P365 380, and we're going to compare how the Hornady Critical Defense does out of 380 in the same P365 style firearm compared to 9mm of last time. Same as before, 3 shots, left to right. I'm going to try to keep them in the bottom half of the gel block. Here we go. High. Oh wow, okay, now here you can see our Hornady Critical Defense out of our P365 380. Again, this is 380 ammunition, and we see very similar, though subtly different results from our 9mm, and I think it's in a positive way. Our penetration depth is not quite as uniform in the 380. In the 9mm ammo, we had 10.5 to 11 inches on all 3 shots. As here you can see on our 380, 1 shot is about 10 inches, 1 shot is a foot into the ballistics gel, which is 1 inch farther than we got in the 9mm. And then our first shot, which caught the left side, deviated out of the gel, and so we don't know where it is. But here you can see our 2 that were captured by the block. We have very similar penetration that we got out of 9mm. Though I think one very interesting area is, let's look at the wound channel. And in my not an expert opinion, looking at the wound channel going through the block, to me it looks like there's a more damage in the wound channel for the 380 ammunition versus our 9mm ammunition. Here it looks like to me that we have both very good hollow point expansion, but it looks like the round tumbled through the gel. Now we're going to try to get a clear picture of the gel for our 9mm one, though looking at that in sort of the cloudy gel, it looks like a much more pencil drilled hole, no evidence of tumbling, compared to what we see here in our 380 test. Now let's do our Norma ammunition and see if our results are similar with that. Okay, now we're going to do the Norma MHP. It's sort of going to be top left, low middle, top right. That's going to be our try anyway. Here we go. Okay, that was left again. Okay. I'm going to do one more to the up left side. Okay, so none of the ones that I tried on the left side were captured. That's just me. Here they 1, 2, 3. But okay, let's pause. Yeah. Ooh. We're gonna have to rotate the camera around to this side of the table. Recording. Okay, I am going to rotate the block. Now check this out. This is very cool. Now I think we have very similar penetration depth with the 380 Norma versus our 9mm Norma, but we do not have, I say we would have more variation in the round once it enters the target. Now this round here hit about low middle, and it deviated in sort of this path through the block and down, and if we rotate the block, you'll find the round is coming out of the block. And here is our Norma monolithic hollow point with what I'm going to say is pretty good expansion. Not quite what is shown on the box, but to me that's scary looking nonetheless. Now here is our other, I'll move this over and angle it for you. Hopefully that's at a good angle for you. Now here you can see, here is our Hornady Critical Defense Norma MHP sandwiched right in the middle of those two still left in the block. Very good hollow point expansion of all of the rounds captured in the block, and very good penetration that I would say is on par with what we saw out of our 9mm, though keep in mind 380 lighter projectile, so there is that to consider as well. Now let's take a moment to go over our final thoughts and observations based on the video that we captured today. It would be very tempting to say, if you looked only at the pictures of the ballistic gel blocks, that there's no difference in performance as far as penetration between 9mm and 380 ACP, or if there is a difference, it's insignificant. And I think that is misleading. I think the pictures and our results in the gel samples, while they do add some very powerful data to our quest to make sure that 380 ACP is not anemic in terms of the eye of the internet, that I think that if you looked only at those pictures, they can be misleading, and here's why I say that. If you look at, let's take for example our 9mm Norma MHP ammunition, 108 grains, and the results that we had against our gel target, the expansion that we saw and the wound channel were very telling. They were obviously more devastating than what we got from the Hornady Critical Defense. Now, the other bit of information that I think was less noticeable to most people who were not editing the video is the impact on how our gel target shifted. With our Norma MHP and also our Hornady Critical Defense, for both the 9mm ammunition, we saw on impact the gel target, which weighs in at about 17.2 pounds or 1,400 grains, in comparison to say a 108 grain or 115 grain projectile. We saw the target on impact. It would shift 1.5 inches or 2 inches on impact. It would violently shudder in the slow motion to where it became apparent that we need to have our camera not on the same table that the gel is on, so that is stabilized to better appreciate the jigger of a 17.2 ounce or 120,400 grain gel body compared to a, say, 108 grain projectile impacting it. It was violent. And you can see that in our video. I did not expect that gel block to shift over, and it did. And it did quite a bit, to where I had to expand the range that our garbage mat on the target cam to make sure that when that shifted over, it was still in frame. Now, I don't think that means that we can discredit 380, because absolutely on our gel target we saw what I'm going to say is very good penetration on what I'm going to say is my most favorite 380 ammunition, the Hornady Critical Defense, and also the one that I question the most, that is probably the most impressive so far, the Norma MHP. That expansion, scary. I can't imagine that projectile hitting you. Now, speaking of which, one of the things that we saw in the video today is that in one of the Critical Defense, two of the Norma MHP on my left hand shots, those projectiles veered outside of the gel body. Now, I have a very simple explanation for that. On our, say, MHP ammunition, as the petals unfold and that projectile begins to mushroom, if that's not uniform, if it goes, say, one way to the right or the left, that's going to affect how that projectile traverses through the gel body, and in this case that caused the projectile to go outside of the gel media, in my not an expert opinion. Now, as we saw the ones that we fired into the center, they always were captured, though we had one that was low, very slightly low of center, that almost made it outside of the gel body by virtue of how that expansion happened, and luckily we caught it on the table right at the tail end without damaging our table. And no, we are not going to elbow drop or whatever our table and sacrifice it like so many other channels do. We actually value our tools and props for this channel. Now, another question to ask, and that I'm going to answer before you do in the comments, is why didn't you put jeans or leather or something else in front of the ballistic gel to simulate skin or something? And the reason for that is the synthetic ballistic gel that we're using here today, that one of the friends of the channel sent us. You guys rock. It's reusable. We're going to melt it down, we're going to get out the projectiles, we're going to reuse it hopefully 8 or 10 times. So I didn't want to add any foreign material in front of the gel that would then be put in the gel that potentially I can't filter out, and that would then thus obscure the clarity of the gel more than it's already going to be obscured by our reuse. Now, another thing to mention in this video is I have not yet knifed out the projectiles from our clear blocks. And the reason for that is on one of our blocks, I tried to take a heat gun to it, or we're going to call it a heat gun, but in reality it was a hair dryer, to get it more clear on the side so we could get a better picture of it. Had zero effect when I tried it here today after hitting the range. However, I want to retry that, but I did this video because I'm allowing for the case where heat gunning it will degrade our sample and make our block look maybe clearer, but say take out the wound channels or whatever. So I wanted to make sure we had the video and the pictures as it was before I really went to town with my hair dryer on it. I hope you found this video useful. Thanks for watching, and as always, have a good day. Don't forget to like and subscribe so Freddy gets his biscuits.